First off, philosophy is a confession.
Why do some men captivate women, drawing them in with an intensity that feels almost magnetic, while others seem to disappear into the background, forgotten and overlooked? It's not about good looks, fancy words, or fleeting charm. No, the truth is deeper. The secret lies in the very core of who you are. Women are not drawn to weakness, to men who constantly seek validation, or to those who live to please. They are drawn to strength of character, strength of purpose, and strength of conviction. The man who knows who he is, what he stands for, and what he will not tolerate becomes impossible to ignore. If you want a woman to become deeply obsessed with you, you must first become the kind of man who is so captivating, so self-assured, that her entire world would feel incomplete without you. It's time to discover how. Why do we settle for mediocrity in our relationships? Why do we stand at the edge of greatness and look away, too afraid to leap, too comfortable to change? The truth is, the relationships that truly matter, the ones that define us, they don't start with comfort. They start with challenge. If you want a woman to be deeply obsessed with you, you must first become the kind of man who forces her to grow. Anything less than that will never sustain the fire of attraction. This is the hard truth. If you don't challenge her to evolve, you will become just another figure in her life, a placeholder. You'll be an accessory to her existence. And that's not why she's here. She's here because she wants to feel something real. She wants to feel the intensity of life, the push, the pull, the change. That's why she is drawn to you in the first place. She's looking for someone who can make her question everything she thought she knew about herself. So if you think she's just waiting for you to be the nice guy, the stable, predictable man who never rocks the boat, you're wrong. She's waiting for the man who will make her feel alive, who will make her fight for the best version of herself. Women crave challenge not because they want to be broken, but because they want to be built. They want to build something better, and that's where you come in. You must be the man who inspires growth. You must be the catalyst that stirs something inside her, not the man who is content to let her settle into complacency. You must be the one who shows her what she is capable of, not just by telling her, but by being someone who demands the best of her, who expects her to rise to the occasion, and who refuses to let her off the hook when she doesn't. Do you understand the weight of what I'm saying here? It's not enough to simply show up and be present. You have to be the kind of person who forces transformation in yourself, in her, and in the relationship. You must set the bar high, higher than she's ever set it for herself, because if you don't, she will begin to believe she has already reached her limit. And when she believes that, you will lose her. She won't be obsessed with you. She'll be obsessed with the empty space you've left behind, the emotional void that exists because you didn't push her, you didn't demand more from her, and you didn't demand more from yourself. But here's the catch. You can't force someone to grow unless you've first done the hard work of growth yourself. You can't challenge someone to become the best version of themselves if you're not working on becoming the best version of yourself. This is where most men fail. They want the reward without putting in the effort. They want the obsession without the discipline. They want the relationship without the sacrifice. But real relationships, the ones that make a woman's heart burn with passion, those don't come without struggle. They don't come without both partners putting in the work, without both being constantly in the process of becoming something better than they were yesterday. And yes, this will be uncomfortable. It will be hard. It will test your limits, challenge your beliefs, and make you question yourself. But it is the only path that leads to true intimacy. It's the only path that leads to a woman being deeply obsessed with you. Because a woman who is constantly evolving alongside you will never forget you. She will see you as the man who helped her grow into something more, the man who is the spark, the fire, the challenge that kept her fighting to become better. She will be obsessed with what you represent, not just in the world, but in her life. So ask yourself, are you willing to be that man? Are you willing to step up, take responsibility, and challenge her to rise while also rising to meet your own potential? Because if you're not, if you're content to live in the shallows, to settle for comfort, to let life and love pass you by, you'll never see the kind of deep, passionate obsession you crave. The truth is, relationships are either transformative or they are stagnant. And if you are not the force of transformation, you will be forgotten. She will not obsess over you. She will simply move on. But if you make her grow, if you demand more from her, from yourself, and from the relationship, then and only then will you become someone she can't forget. The question is, will you have the courage to challenge her to be the woman she's capable of becoming, or will you allow her to settle for a life of quiet desperation, forever wondering if she could have been more? Why do we so often settle for mediocrity in our relationships? Why is it that we seek connection and yet we do nothing to elevate the people we care about or ourselves? It's a paradox. We crave closeness, yet we fail to nurture what would make that connection truly profound. We want to be seen, but we don't do the hard work required to see others. If you want to make a woman obsessed with you, truly obsessed, not in the superficial sense, but in a way that runs deep, that stirs her very soul, you must be the man who makes her feel like she is always a little better with you. You must not merely coexist beside her, you must elevate her. Every moment, every interaction, every word should leave her feeling like she's rising, becoming the best version of herself. Ask yourself, when was the last time you genuinely made someone feel better because they were with you? Not because you were charming, not because you were funny, but because your presence forced them to confront something deeper within themselves. When did you last make her feel like she was walking in the direction of her greatest potential? This is the kind of power you must wield if you want to be the man who makes her heart race, not just because of attraction, but because she sees you as the person who challenges her to grow beyond what she thought was possible. And this doesn't come easily. It comes through a deliberate choice to raise the bar for both yourself and the people around you. It requires being the man who doesn't let anyone, especially a woman you care about, get away with settling for the comfort of their own mediocrity. But why do we do this? Why do we accept so little from each other, from ourselves? The problem is simple. It's easy. It's easy to let people slip into their comfort zones. It's easy to let the person you love simply be, to let them coast through life and to let yourself coast as well. It's far easier to settle than to demand greatness. But this is where the real challenge lies. You have to be willing to challenge her, not in a harsh or demeaning way, but in a way that makes her feel like she is capable of something more, that she is capable of achieving the life she truly desires. Now, this doesn't mean you need to put her down or make her feel small. No, you don't do it by diminishing her. You do it by showing her the full extent of her potential. You help her see her own worth. And you demand the best from her by holding up a mirror that reflects not who she is, but who she can become. But here's the key. You can't make her feel like she's becoming the best version of herself unless you're actively becoming the best version of yourself. It's the oldest truth in relationships. You can't expect someone else to grow if you're not growing. You have to walk the path of transformation first. You can't ask someone to rise to a challenge if you're unwilling to rise to it yourself. You have to lead by example. Do you want her to feel inspired by your presence? Then start by demanding greatness from yourself, from your actions, your words, your work ethic. You must be the type of man who can inspire her, not with empty promises or fleeting gestures, but with your own commitment to your growth. She will be drawn to you not because of your words, but because of the authenticity in your actions, the way you constantly strive for more, for better. But here's what makes this approach dangerous too. The moment you stop challenging her, the moment you allow her to settle, you've lost her. You might still have her in the physical sense, she may still be there, but emotionally, you'll have lost her. The attraction won't be as strong, the obsession will fade. Why? Because deep down, she craves something more. She craves someone who can pull her out of her comfort zone, who makes her feel like she's rising, not staying stagnant. And without the challenge, you will become just another face in the crowd. And this is what sets apart the ordinary from the extraordinary. The man who can make her feel like she is always a little better when she's with him. That's the man who will always leave an imprint on her heart. She will be drawn to you, not just because of the chemistry, but because of the growth she experiences in your presence. So I leave you with this question. When she looks back on her time with you, will she remember it as the time she became more or the time she simply stayed the same? The answer to that question will decide whether she stays obsessed or walks away, because obsession isn't built on comfort. It's built on the relentless pursuit of something better together. What if I told you that the key to making a woman deeply obsessed with you isn't your looks, your charm, or even in your ability to make her laugh? What if I told you that the most powerful force you can wield in a relationship is not your ability to please her, but your ability to challenge her? Not just challenge her mind, but challenge the very core of who she is, to make her question the boundaries she has placed around her own potential. You see, the great secret that so many miss in relationships is this: attraction, true, deep, lasting attraction, isn't built on comfort. It's not built on doing what's easy. It's not even built on being what the other person wants you to be. It's built on something far more powerful: your ability to make her feel alive, to make her confront the parts of herself she's afraid to face, to make her see the greatness within her that she's either too scared or too blind to see. But here's the problem. This isn't something you can fake. You can't manufacture it with false promises or superficial gestures. It requires an honesty that cuts to the core. The truth is, you won't be able to make her feel deeply obsessed with you if you're not being real with yourself. The world has conditioned us to wear masks, to pretend to be what others want us to be, to settle for shallow pleasantry, but that's not what makes a woman obsessed. What makes her obsessed is the raw, unvarnished truth of who you are and your ability to make her see herself in the same way. Raw, unvarnished, real. Ask yourself, when was the last time you stood before her and allowed her to see you, truly see you, not the version of yourself you think she wants, not the polished, perfectly edited version of you, but the real, vulnerable, complex human being that you are? And perhaps even more importantly, when was the last time you gave her the permission to do the same? When did you last challenge her to be her most authentic self? To step out from behind the mask and show up as the full force of who she is, no excuses, no apologies. It's in those moments of rawness, that attraction deepens. It's in those moments that she will see you as a man who is not only willing to face his own darkness, but who is willing to help her face hers. And in doing so, you become the mirror she has been searching for. You become the person who reflects back the parts of her that are hidden, the parts she has neglected, the parts she is too afraid to confront. You are no longer a man in her life, you become a force that pushes her to evolve, a force that makes her feel like she is on the verge of discovering something profound. But let me be clear, this doesn't mean you should try to fix her. This doesn't mean that your role is to be her therapist or to carry the weight of her emotional burdens. It means that your role is to be someone who stands tall enough, strong enough, and honest enough that she feels safe confronting her own truth. It means you must be someone who demands more of her because you see the potential in her that she cannot yet see in herself. You have to hold her to a higher standard, one that demands growth, one that demands accountability, and one that demands authenticity. And don't think for a second that this is easy. It isn't. Because it requires something most people are afraid to confront. It requires you to look beyond the surface, beyond the superficial connections that we all like to hide behind. You're not here to be a placeholder in her life. You're not here to be the safe guy. You're not here to be the man who's just good enough to be her companion. You're here to be the man who pushes her to the brink of everything she thought she knew about herself, to push her beyond the comfort of her expectations and into the unknown. You are the force that will make her question everything, because she knows deep down that she's capable of more. But that requires strength. It requires strength in you. Strength to challenge her when it's uncomfortable. Strength to call her out when she's slipping. Strength to stand tall and not back down when the easy path is to simply let her stay in her comfort zone. The woman who is deeply obsessed with you is the woman who sees you as the challenge, the person who makes her grow, who makes her want to be better, who makes her step into the unknown with courage. That's what will make her heart race. That's what will make her feel a hunger she can't ignore. So I ask you this: are you the man who will make her rise, who will make her dig deeper into her soul than she ever has before? Are you willing to do the hard work of growth, not just for yourself, but for the relationship? Because if you aren't, she will walk away, not because she doesn't care, but because the fire you could have ignited in her will have slowly burned out. The question is simple. Will you rise, or will you let her settle? Will you be the force of transformation in her life, or will you be another man who simply fades into the background? Do you know why most relationships fail, no matter how much you care for each other? It's because one simple truth is ignored. People don't fall in love with the versions of you that are afraid. They don't fall in love with the man who constantly caters to her needs or bends himself into a shape that pleases her. No. They fall in love with a man who is fully himself, a man who is not afraid to be bold, to be assertive, to demand more from life and from her. The real question is, are you that man? Are you the person who's not afraid to challenge her, to force her to grow, to make her see life in a new light, even if it means you both have to suffer a little bit along the way? You have to stop pretending. Stop pretending that your worth is wrapped up in how easily you can keep her happy, how much you can smooth over the rough edges, or how tirelessly you can please her. That's the trap. You can't be the guy who is constantly on his knees begging for her validation, because the truth is, deep down, she will lose respect for you. Women don't fall in love with that. Well, they might settle for it. They might even be comfortable for a while with it, but they won't respect you. And without respect, there is no real connection, no real obsession. So what is it that makes a woman truly obsessed with you? It's your strength. And I don't mean physical strength or the kind of strength that comes from power and control. I'm talking about inner strength, strength of character, the kind of strength that makes her look at you and think, he is a man who knows who he is and what he wants. He is not swayed by my whims. He does not need me to complete him. Do you understand how crucial that is? It's not just about impressing her. It's about being the kind of man who challenges her to become better, to stretch herself, to face things about herself that she may not even want to confront. A woman will not fall for a man who is simply trying to make her feel good. She will fall for the man who makes her question herself in a good way. A man who raises the bar, who forces her to level up. And here's the truth you're not going to want to hear. You cannot do this if you don't have the courage to be real. The real challenge is not about playing games or following some blueprint of what women want. It's about being courageous enough to let go of all the pretenses, all the acts. It's about owning your flaws, your imperfections, your weaknesses, and showing them with confidence. It's about standing firm in the knowledge that you are enough, that you do not need to chase her validation. You know why this works? Because women are drawn to men who don't need them. Women are drawn to men who can stand tall on their own, who do not live in fear of being abandoned. That energy is magnetic. It's not arrogance. It's just raw, unapologetic self-assurance. When you walk into a room with that kind of energy, when you look at her and say with your actions, I am enough as I am, she will take notice. But here's the challenge. Can you sustain that energy? Can you maintain that strength even when things get hard? The truth is, most men can't. They buckle under pressure. They stop being themselves when they think she's not looking. They get comfortable, and comfort is the enemy of passion, the enemy of growth. When you are comfortable, when you've let your guard down, when you've stopped challenging her, you've stopped challenging yourself. And that, my friends, is when the relationship begins to rot. A woman needs someone who doesn't just let her coast. She needs a man who pushes her to grow, who doesn't let her fall into complacency. You must create an environment where she feels driven to become the best version of herself. And the only way to do that is by embodying that in your own life. Lead by example. Don't just tell her what you want her to do, show her. Show her what it means to fight for your goals, to fight for your purpose, and to fight for the truth of who you are. So let me ask you, are you the man who will push her to become better, or will you become the man who is content to let her stay the same? Are you the man who will make her look at herself and think, I have so much more to give? Because if you're not that man, you're not the man she will become obsessed with. And that's the cold truth. If you're not challenging her, you're losing her. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the one you need to take if you want to keep her obsession alive. Have you ever stopped to wonder why so many men struggle to keep a woman deeply obsessed with them? They think it's about the little things. The flowers, the texts, the nice gestures. They think it's about always being available, always being sweet. But let me tell you this, you're wrong. If you think that's what keeps her hooked, you're already on the wrong path. No, the truth is far more unsettling. Women don't fall for a man because he's nice, or because he's predictable, or because he's endlessly trying to please her. They fall for a man because of one simple truth. He has a life that is so compelling, so full of purpose, that she can't help but get swept up in it. You need to be a man with a mission, not just a man with a set of pleasing traits. What does that mean? It means you must become someone who is so engrossed in his own life that he doesn't rely on her for validation. You must develop your own passions, your own goals, your own vision. A man who is obsessed with his mission is a man who will inspire obsession in others. You have to stop thinking about relationships as transactional. Stop thinking that you can simply be nice or charming and expect her to fall in love with you. Because when you approach things that way, when you base your worth on how well you can make her feel, you set yourself up for failure. You're giving away your power. She might stick around for a while, but the moment someone else comes along with a stronger sense of purpose, a clearer vision of life, you'll be left in the dust. Think about this. How many men do you know who are truly compelling? How many men do you know who live their lives with such direction that they almost pull others along with them? How many men do you know who are so confident in their own goals, their own journey, that it feels like they could accomplish anything no matter who's standing beside them? These are the men women are drawn to, and not just women, everyone. People are magnetized by someone with purpose, someone who wakes up every day with a mission. Because here's the truth. People want to follow leaders, not followers. And every woman, no matter how independent she is, has an innate desire to follow a man who is truly leading. But the problem is, most men don't lead themselves. They live for others. They live to please. They live for the approval of their partner, their family, their friends. They're constantly in a state of fear, always worried that if they stop chasing validation, they'll lose everything. That's why you must become the kind of man who doesn't need constant validation. You need to develop such strength, such deep conviction in your purpose that she cannot help but get drawn into your world. When you do this, you're not just being a man who's nice or romantic, you're becoming the embodiment of something bigger than her, bigger than anyone around you. You have to be willing to make hard choices. You have to be willing to turn down things that don't align with your vision. And yes, sometimes that means turning down the easy road, the path that seems comfortable where you try to please everyone. Because pleasing everyone is a form of weakness. It's a lack of integrity, a lack of purpose. And if you want to be the kind of man who commands respect, admiration, and yes, obsession, you cannot be a man who's always looking for approval. How many times have you avoided conflict just to keep the peace? How many times have you allowed yourself to shrink, to make compromises that don't align with your core beliefs, just to keep the relationship going? You think that will keep her hooked. You think she'll appreciate the effort. But it's the opposite. She'll lose respect for you. A woman will obsess over the man who challenges her, who dares to stand firm in his values and mission, even when it means she might not understand or agree. The man who is willing to say no when it's necessary. The man who pushes her to think differently, to grow, to become better. He is the man who will capture her heart because he forces her to elevate herself. But here's the catch. This doesn't happen by accident. It's not something that happens just because you say the right words or give the right compliments. It happens when you create a life that is so full of energy, purpose, and passion that she can't help but want to be a part of it. So here's the question. Are you living a life that compels her to chase you, or are you simply waiting for her to catch up with you? If you're not leading your life with strength, if you're not the man who is unapologetically driven by his purpose, then you'll always be in a position of chasing, never truly capturing her attention. Stop trying to please. Stop trying to perform. It's time to stop being nice and start being the man who lives for something greater. And when you do that, you'll be the man she can't stop thinking about, the man she'll crave, the man she'll obsess over, because she'll see in you something rare, something that she can't find anywhere else. Strength, purpose, and the courage to be unapologetically yourself. And that, my friends, is the kind of man women are magnetized by. The question is, will you become him?
That about wraps it all up for this one, guys. I challenge you to go love somebody, even if you don't like them. Go love somebody. And let me leave you guys with this. Always leave people better than you found them. Hug the hurts, kiss the broken, befriend the lost, and love the lonely. WTJ Knowledge Drops. I'm out. Love y'all. See you next time. Go love somebody.